Alright, YouTube, I'm back with another video. Now, I did say there would be this video and the next one. I decided, why not make it 10 so it could be 10 episodes? You know what I mean? No series ends on 8 or 9 videos, right? So why not add a 10th video to make it 10 episodes? Now, this one's gonna be Bo Jackson. That's right, you heard me. Bo Jackson versus Deion Primetime Sanders. Now, you might wonder, why am I putting these two against each other? Because they both have something in common. They both played in the mid-1980s, early 1990s, and both were popular. Deion Sanders for providing the entertainment, and Bo Jackson for showing that he's a multi-talented guy. Both guys had football careers and baseball careers at the same exact time. So let's start with Bo Jackson first, and yes, I have a script. Now, Bo Jackson came in the 1986 NFL draft, and he was selected round 1, pick number 1 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but there was a dispute. He wanted to play professional football and then somewhere down the line have the opportunity to play baseball. And, you know, the general manager and the owners and the staff of the Buccaneers just weren't happy with that. And when he saw that he couldn't get what he wanted, because he had played basketball, football, baseball, running track, and swimming in junior high, high school, and college. Played every American sport. And managed to win championships in every sport if you possibly can imagine that. And when he decided that he wanted both sports, not one, when an agreement couldn't be reached, he would later fall short, and it would be until the 7th round at 183 that he would get picked by the Oakland Raiders. Of course, they would go back and forth between Oakland and LA, and Al Davis loved his ability that they made him a running back. And it showed in 1987 that his rookie season, he ran 554 yards, and by the end of the season as a rookie, he had 81 carries. Like, this guy was 6'1", 230 pounds. He was bigger, he was stronger, he was faster, and nobody had never seen a running back play like the way he did. I mean, the size that he was at and with the speed he had, it was uncommon at the time for a football player to have. And when I did watch Oakland Raiders play, I only tuned in to see Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen. You know, he had a lot of players on that 1987 season that was good players. Now, he was a force to be reckoned with the Raiders. Like, he was, if not the reason, he was probably the second or third reason why they won 80% of their football games. And in fact, they made the playoffs. They won their first playoff game, their second playoff game, but they would get taken out in their third playoff game. Very close to going to a Super Bowl his first year. Now, 1988 and 1989, he repeat the same success again. Now, by 1990, he had now had over 2,782 total, and then it went from that to 300, you know, and then he had 37 yards in one football game. Had never been seen by a running back of that level. Now, unfortunately, after playing about 5.5, maybe 6 years of professional football, he had tore his shoulder, and then he had tore his hip. So he had not one injury, he had 2 or 3 injuries prior to the 1990 season. And from out of nowhere, right in the middle of off season, he wanted to go play baseball. Like, right in the middle of the season or end of the season or off season, he wanted to go play baseball. And this kind of angered and upset Al Davis in a way. Like, Al Davis allowed him in the contract, to play professional baseball. But at this time, people wanted to see the Raiders win a championship. They were in Los Angeles. They were at the Coliseum. And a lot of people weren't watching baseball. Weren't watching football anymore because Marcus Allen had gotten traded at this point. He was still there, but you could tell he was on his way being traded. There was no Bo Jackson, and Bo Jackson fans were like, what the hell happened? Did the guy ask for a trade? Did the guy not be happy playing with the Raiders? A lot of controversial at that moment. I remember that either somebody got angry and decided to pull a prank. I remember this in the 91-92 season, that I think either Marcus Allen or another football player went into their locker one day and their helmet was missing. And he couldn't play without his helmet. I'm not sure if it was Marcus Allen or if it was someone else, but somebody took their helmet and they couldn't play football. And this was kind of like retaliation for not having no Bo Jackson, because they thought the Raiders done something for him to leave. When Bo Jackson made it on his own terms, he wanted to play baseball. And you could see how disappointing that was. He was with the Royals. He had played with the Los Angeles Angels. And he was phenomenal in baseball as an outfielder. The guy could hit the ball out of the park. He was 100% natural, no steroids. Like what Barry Bonds was doing, he was doing it before Barry Bonds was doing it in baseball. Like, the guy was so athletic that people described it, it's like Spider-Man hitting the baseball. Like, he would break the bats every time they lost a baseball game. If they won a baseball game, or if he got, in baseball they call it an umpire or a foul, he would break it with pure strength. And this got people wondering why in the 1992, 1993, all the way up to 95, how come we couldn't really see, what was going on with this guy? Because at that point in time in history, his injuries from football began to affect his ability to play baseball. Like, the guy could play baseball for 9 innings, but then all of a sudden it was 8 innings, then it was 7, then it was 6, then it was 5 innings. And people was wondering what is going on with his ability. Why in 3 baseball games he plays like he's an all-star, and in the next 3 baseball games the guy plays like he's towards the end of his career, because he was plagued by injuries. And he tried to take his team to the World Series, but they got eliminated by those San Francisco Giants, of course. You know how that was. Now, Deion Sanders, better known as Deion, baby. It's prime time, baby. Deion Sanders. Deion can't do everything, man. He got drafted in the 1989 NFL Draft, first round, selected the 5th pick. And he was selected to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this football team had a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Unfortunately, tragedy befell this football team. It really did. Because you had Deion Sanders, you had a young Bill Goldberg. Yes, you heard me. The professional wrestler Goldberg that would say, "You're next," in his days in WCW. He was on the football team. You had Goldberg, you had Deion Sanders, you had Brett Favre. This team had a lot of promise. It had a lot of potential, but they had a lot of tragedy. They had somebody on their football team get killed in a car accident. They had one person overdose on some drugs. Another person got shot. Yes, I'm talking about the Atlanta Falcons in the 80s. They had so many tragedies, it's not even funny. Now, Deion played very good at quarterback. Not quarterback, cornerback. It's the same position that Richard Sherman has. He was very good. The guy had, I think, 5 touchdowns a football game. He would make interceptions. He would steal and peel the football off. And he was good on the football. He could play offense, he could play defense, he could read the offense, he could read the defense, but his specialty was cornerback, because he could catch you on the right corner or the left corner, up the field, downfield, and take the ball. And this also showed that he had the ability to play quarterback. He had the ability to play wide receiver. He only played wide receiver maybe once or twice, but they would never let him play quarterback. Even though he had the ability to play any position, they kept him at that position. Now, he stayed. Now, his rookie season, he didn't do too bad. I mean, he had incredible numbers his rookie season. I think they lost their first game of the season, but you could tell after a while he was going to be ready and set. Now, he stayed with them from 1989 to 1993, but in less than 5.5 years, you could see the frustration on his face. He was winning football games. They were making playoffs. They were winning playoff games, but he was upset at the fact that he did not have no one to complement his style, and he wanted to win a championship more than anything. And around this point in time in history, he contemplated committing suicide. I mean, he got married at a young age. At 23 years old, they told Deion not to get married, and he tried to commit suicide because he married he married the wrong type of woman. Let's just put it that way. They told him stay away from the white women in Atlanta City. He didn't listen, and she divorced him and took the kid, and he was depressed. Couldn't play football games. They would lose football games because he was depressed. And by the 1992-1993 season, he got his life back in order. They lost in the second game of the playoffs. They lost their division rival, unfortunately. And then in 1994, he got traded to the San Francisco 49ers, where he would be paired up with the legendary Steve Young, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and you could see that things were going to head up in the right direction for Deion Sanders, which they won a championship, they won a Super Bowl. And then there was some controversial because Jerry Rice felt that it was him that helped that team win its final championship, and they gave all the credit to Deion Sanders, and Jerry Rice kind of felt, bitter about that. And then the training, Jerry Rice told all the football players to come 3 hours early so they can start training on time, and, Deion just can't resist. Deion had a photo shoot, because he did, photo magazines. I think at the time it was Hustler magazine at the time. I can't remember. He did Hustler magazine. He did a movie, a TV show. He did a commercial all in one damn day. And then he finally bought him a new car. And you can see Jerry Rice had that angry, stern look on his face like, come on, man, get yourself together, man. You were supposed to be in training camp 3 hours ago, Deion. Oh, man, calm down, Jerry, relax, baby. I'm Deion Primetime Sanders. Football game don't start until 6 hours from now, man. All I need is an hour and a half for training. We can take these boys. Man, you need to be serious, Deion. I need a real serious cornerback. I don't need you trying to be funny. You and your rap albums. Oh, man, just stop hating, Jerry. You know you like the rap album. Deion Primetime Sanders, baby. What's up? It's prime time. Jerry Rice was the more serious football player. And like I said, Deion provided the entertainment. Cracking jokes in practice. Deion trained, but it wasn't until later in 95 when he got upset with Jerry Rice, because Jerry Rice would say some stuff prior to pre-workouts where they let the news media come in at that time. This is before we even had social media, by the way. And they would trade shots back and forth at each other. And they would use media outlets to do it. And finally, he got sent to the Dallas Cowboys, where he won back-to-back Super Bowl championships. Now, at this point in time, once he won the Super Bowls, again, he would try to commit suicide again. And I think somebody in the media kind of caught on to it. Anytime this man gets too much success, he self-destructs. At this point, he did his second rap album. He did 2 rap albums. He tried to be a rapper. He was in the movies, the television shows. He wrote books. Like I said, he was trying to commit suicide for this second time. When he was with San Francisco, he had done it a second time. And when he got to Dallas, there were rumors that he was trying to commit suicide a third damn time. It turned out to be fake because it was someone who just didn't like Deion Sanders in the media. And then later he found himself playing for baseball. He wanted to break into baseball, so he did it right in the middle. And then he became the first athlete in history to not only win 2 championships 2 years in a row, but the second year that he won a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys, he signed with the Atlanta Braves baseball team, because there's a picture of him and Ted Turner, and he took that baseball team to a World Series. He went to a Super Bowl and a World Series in the same year. And they lost the baseball game like that. I think they lost by 1 or 2 innings. And I think someone said that had he had more time to train in baseball than he did for football, he probably would have won a World Series, just like winning a Super Bowl in the same year, which never really ever happens to an athlete like that. And he would go against Bo Jackson in baseball as well as football, and they would clash. Now, in their primes, the reason why I can't give Bo Jackson no credit when it comes to football is because he only played 5.5 to 6 years of professional football. He got injured 3 times, and then he left to go play baseball. So he never finished his football career. He was more invested and interested in baseball than he ever was in football. And I remember there was a debate for almost 20 years who was better at playing 2 sports, Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson. And Stephen A. Smith tried to answer the question after 20 years of debating. Stephen A. Smith tried to say right off the bat, it's Bo Jackson. Now here's where Stephen A. Smith is wrong, and I mean it. Bo Jackson had a short-lived NFL career due to injuries, and his ability to play baseball was infected by being injured in football. So his football career ultimately is responsible for ending his baseball career. Like, he played 7.5 years of baseball, but you could tell that he was not the same baseball player he was when he left the Raiders. It's like you play for a football team, you get hurt, and then your injuries from football, they carry over into baseball, and then it ruins your baseball career. Like, you could tell he had a hard time hitting the bat. And where in Deion Sanders' case, he got to be an outfielder. And every now and then he got to hit the baseball. And you see, to me, when it comes to Super Bowls, it's Deion Sanders in football. He played 14 years of professional football. He played 7 to 8, maybe 9 years of professional baseball because he was on 5 baseball teams. He played with the New York Yankees, you know, so he played on 5 baseball teams for about 5 to 7.5, maybe 8 years of baseball. And he was consistent in both sports. And Deion managed to go to a World Series the same year that he went to a Super Bowl. Now, yeah, he lost the World Series, but he stayed consistent with football and baseball. It's not until Deion retired, I think in 1999, 2000, and then came back around 2003 and then retired again either in 2005, 2006 at the age of 37 going on 38, where they made that legendary commercial when he was playing with the Baltimore Ravens. Aw, man, Deion can't do everything, man. So it wasn't until the end of Deion Sanders' career that his numbers in football began to decline, and that Father Time was finally catching up with him. So, I'm going with Deion Sanders on this one. Nothing against Bo Jackson, but if you're talking about just baseball, maybe Bo Jackson's a better baseball player than Deion Sanders because Bo Jackson did win more baseball games. He made the playoffs regularly, but he never won a World Series. And whenever he was injured, if he wasn't in the baseball game, they wouldn't win the baseball game. So he couldn't even leave the baseball game until they won the baseball game. And it's football. His injuries in football ruined his career in baseball because his injuries in football carried over into baseball. So technically, you never finished neither sport. And to never be inducted into any Hall of Fame, that's even more disheartening. Like, you play 2 sports, you don't finish the sports, and they don't even put you in the Hall of Fame. That's even worse. And that's like a tragedy. It's like you go to college for 7 years, you pass all your classes, but you need that one class to graduate for a college degree, but you never finish. that's what it feels like with Bo Jackson. You always wonder in baseball what you could have got, you never got from him. In football, what you wanted to see in football, again, you felt like you never got anything when he left both sports. When he left both the sports, it was like bittersweet. It was like I couldn't get any, like what I saw in the beginning of him in both sports, he was great. So if you're talking about in the beginning of his prime, you could probably say for the very first 4.5, 5 years, maybe up until Deion won back-to-back Super Bowls and then got into a World Series. In the beginning, you could argue Bo Jackson was better. But right up until the point Deion got the Super Bowls, even that he tried to commit suicide twice, I would still ride with Deion Sanders. Peace.